Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to Leah's Vlog. I'm so glad that you have tuned into my channel. So today I want to give some advice or some words of wisdom to our CNAs, or what I call, where I work, our PCAs. So let's get into the video. So I just want to give a little background story. I was a CNA prior to becoming a nurse. Initially, I basically went to CNA school basically just to determine if I could be a nurse, and I said that was my determining factor. Like, if I fell in love with what I was doing as a CNA, I knew that I would love being a nurse. And when I got to my first patient or my first clinical, it was just the best experience ever. The gratification or the thankful heart of my patient it was like firecrackers going off, and I was like, I know I want to be a nurse if I feel this way as being a PCA. So when I actually started nursing school, of course, with my schedule and clinicals and things of that sort, I couldn't really work the way I wanted. So I had to leave my full-time job. I stopped my full-time job, and I was in school. And of course, you need money. And so I know the only way in order to do that was to be a PCA, because you can work nights, you can work days, you can work whatever. So when I became a PCA, I vowed to myself, in anything I do, I try to do the best work ever, so that whoever I'm assisting or whoever I'm working under, they do not have a problem with anything that I do, that I assume I do everything that I'm supposed to do. And that's how I am with other aspects of my life. I like to do things well. And so I had a few jobs. I quit a few just because of working environments, and didn't align with how I felt that patients should be treated. But basically, whenever I reported to work, and mind you, my husband pushed me to be a CNA. He told me that it would make me a better nurse, and I didn't understand why. And mind you, he's not even in the medical field, but he has a lot of wisdom. And so I pushed myself to do it all throughout my nursing career. And it came to the point, and I vividly remember this, and this is not to toot my own horn, but it came to the point that when I was at the hospital that I actually stayed at for the longest, the nurses, when they would see me coming in, because I only work PRN, they would be like, yo, Leah's here, Leah's here. They were excited to see me, and they were like, it's gonna be a good day. And it wasn't until I became a nurse that I understand what their sentiments were and why they were so excited. But now that I am a nurse, I had this motto, like, for real, I always think this: I feel like a CNA can make or break your shift. So as a nurse, I have like 5, sometimes 6 patients. And a lot of people sometimes are total. Some people need help going to the bathroom because they may have orthopedic surgeries and things of that sort. They need to be watched. Blood sugars need to be taken, vital signs, EKGs. In my hospital, PCAs do EKGs, lab draws, PCAs do lab draws. So if I have 5 or 6 patients, and I already have a lot of things, fulfilling doctor's orders, dressing changes, assessing vital signs, other things that we have to do as nurses, if I have my duties plus the duties of the PCAs, I'm going to drown. I'm never going to basically be efficient for all of my 5 or 6 patients. So if my PCA neglects to do her job or his job, basically I'm going to be the PCA and the nurse. And I know at some point way back when, I remember my professor saying that they did all of that, but we have been afforded the opportunity now in this time where we have assistants. And so I always want to tell, or I always like to give advice to my PCs: do your job the best that you know how, right? The first thing that I would say to PCAs is that when you're taking vital signs, know your parameters. Know that any heart rate above 100, if it's tachycardic, to inform your nurse that it's a high heart rate. If any vital sign is out of norm, inform your nurse. Don't just assume that the patient's okay and you walk out the room. If you know that the patient's on oxygen and you walk in and they're not on oxygen, don't just leave out of the room. Put their nasal cannula on. If your nurse if your patient tells you, hey, I'm just not feeling well, can you tell my nurse? Don't take that for granted and just basically walk out the room and do not tell your nurse. Inform your nurse. Communicate any things that are out of the norm. Communicate to your nurse. And if there are other things, blood sugars that need to be taken, if you need to count the carbs, I find that a lot of times PCAs are maybe counting like the percentage of how much they ate, but when a patient is diabetic, you need to count the carbs. If your patient has not had a bath since they came in, give them a bath every day. Wash them up. If you come in the morning and there's a little crust over their eyes or crust over their face, wash their face. Give them a warm washcloth. Treat them as if you want to be treated, but also be the bomb PCA so that your nurse is not in lack. and cultivate a relationship. And I always tell my PCs, and sometimes they don't come in and do this, but I like to go to my PCAs when they don't. But I always would, my advice to PCAs is that in the morning, after you get a report from the PCA that is leaving, whether you're on day shift, you're getting it from the night shift PCA, go to your nurse when you get a chance to be like, hey, what do I need to know about this patient? Because sometimes communication between one PCA to the next can actually not be accurate. For instance, a lot of times I'm finding when I go through my shift, or I used to, before I communicated with my PCAs, people who were diabetic were not getting their blood sugars checked. Some people were on Q6 vitals or Q8 vitals, and they were taking their vitals every 4 hours. Things that basically were lost in communication. So go to your nurse in the mornings after you get report from your PCA and say, hey, what do I need to know about this patient so that your day can be smooth? Any labs that are coming up that I need to do? Any specific instructions that I need to follow on my end, and just communicate with them throughout the day. PCA can make or break a nurse's shift. I believe that. And so my job as a nurse, that now that I have the experience of being a PCA, and now that I am a nurse, I understand the CNA or the PCA role, and I understand how vital that role is to me as a nurse. So I try to respect my PCAs. I come in, I say, hello, how are you? I form a relationship with them because I want to have a good day. I want to have a good shift. So to our PCAs, your what you do is vital. We thank you for all of your service. But when you come to work, be ready to work and be the best support and the best assistant to your nurse. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Tell a friend about my page. All right, you all have